going to consider from the book Education. From the book Education. Education from page 53, section 3. For it says, the greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their innermost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needles to the poor. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens fall. Section 4, it says, for such a character is not a result of an what? Of an accident. It is not due to a special favor or endowment of providence. A noble character is the result of self-discipline. A good character is the result of a what? Self-discipline. For Ellen White says, for this with painstaking effort, we need to discipline ourselves. Painstaking effort. So the greatest want of men of the world is the want of men. The world is lacking men. Men who are as honest and truthful. Men who can be depended upon. The world is lacking. But today it's not all this, just a quotation which I thought of starting our program with. But we're going to consider from 1 Kings chapter 18. We're not going to read all of it because of the time. First Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings chapter 18. We're going to consider from 1 Kings chapter 18. Where it talks about Elijah. With those 450 prophets at Mount Carmel. We are not going to read it when you get home. 1 Kings chapter 18. For 1 Kings 18 offers a powerful lesson for men, especially in the context of leadership, courage, faith, and accountability. This chapter recounts the dramatic confrontation between the prophet Elijah and the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. There are messages that we can be able to draw from 1 Kings chapter 18 that specifically admonishes men. There are lessons that we can learn as men from 1 Kings chapter 18. One of the lessons that we are going to read from is from that same chapter, 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 17 and 18. Verse 17 and 18. And it says, and it came to pass, when Ahab saw Elijah, and Ahab said unto him, art thou thou he that troubleth Israel? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but thou in thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandment of the Lord, and thou hast followed Baalim. One of the lessons that we're going to learn here from this verse is to stand firm in your conviction. We need to stand, men need to stand firm in their conviction. As we will see, Elijah courageously stand alone against King Ahab. And hundreds of false prophets, he didn't waver or compromise in his message. There's a particular lesson that we are going to learn, that we are learning here. That men must be willing to stand for the truth. Even when it is unpopular or dangerous. For this was dangerous. For Elijah knew that King Ahab had looked for Elijah all over. So he knew that that was the opportunity that Ahab was going to kill him. So it was unpopular. So he said, men need also to stand firm. Even become, you are unpopular. Because normally, when someone stands for the truth, he becomes unpopular. So men need to stand firm. A man must choose to speak and live according to what is right and true. Especially when others are compromising, silent or promoting lies. This includes standing against injustice, deception, or sin. Even if it costs him something, we ought to stand, even if it becomes unpopular. Men need to stand. The other lesson that we have to learn, that we are going to learn as men, from verse 21, for it says, verse 21, we are not going to read all the chapter. It says, Elijah came unto all the people and said, How long held he between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if bow, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Men need to challenge idolatry and falsehood. As Elijah asked the people, how long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. There are also an important lesson that we can learn as men. Men ought to choose whom they will serve. If God is God, follow God. If Baal is God, follow Baal. But here, Elijah is asking. We know the people of Israel, they had gone back into idolatry. So now he's challenging the people of Israel. That today, choose who? The person you are going to serve. If God is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. So, every man has to make a clear decision. As we live, we need to make a clear decision. We will live for God or something else. If God is God, we need to follow him. Let's make a clear decision in our life. The best decision to make is the decision to follow Christ. You can't sit on the fence. Neutrality is in itself a choice. To be neutral, you are choosing. There's no fence sitter. Unfortunately, to be neutral, you are choosing the wrong side. You can't be neutral on the things of God. Because of time, there are also other lessons that we're going to learn. From verse 30 to 35. And Elijah said unto all the people, Come near me unto me. And all the people came near unto him, and he prepared the altar of the Lord that was broken. And Elijah took 12 stones, according to the numbers of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord. And he made a trench about the altar as great as wood, contained 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order, and cut it hollow in pieces, and laid him on the wood, and said, Fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood. And he said, Do it the second time. And they did it the second time. And he said, Do it the third time. And they did it the third time. And the water ran round about the altar, and he filled the trench with the water. You know, I was just wondering, how the things of God work. We are supposed to light fire. Instead of lighting fire, you are pouring water. Can the fire lit up when you pour water on the wood? It's impossible. But here now, the things of God, no one can be able to understand it. It says, act with faith, not fear. Elijah repays the altar of the Lord and drenches it with water, making it humanly impossible to light, yet trust God's act. It was humanly impossible that how can someone lit up fire from what? From something that is wet. It's really impossible. A real man recognizes that he is not self-sufficient, but he needs God's wisdom, power, and guidance. Here, Elijah, he did not have sufficiency from himself, but he relied totally on God. He knew that by himself he was not going to do anything, but he needed the power of the Lord for this sacrifice to be consumed by the fire of God. Elijah wasn't macho by the world's standard, but he was strong in faith, and that made him bold and effective. So men need to be strong in faith. We need to be strong in faith. Men need to lead by example in worship and prayer. We are not going to read it from verse 36 to 37. Elijah prays humbly and publicly, showing dependence on God, not himself. A man's strength lies in the relationship in God. Leadership starts on your knees with a heart that seeks God's will, not personal glory. It comes from being connected to God, depending on Him daily for wisdom, strength, and direction. We need to start with God on our knees. We need to depend upon God daily on our knees by studying and prayer. A man who walks closely with God knows his identity and purpose. Some we don't know our identity because we have lost Christ. We need to know our identity. When we walk with God, we know our identity. When we walk with God, we can be able to stand firm in trials. Though trials they can come, but as long as we stand in God, we will stand firm on our trials. A man needs to be zealous and righteous. Verse 40 on the sermon. After God answers by fire, Elijah ensures that the prophets of Baal are removed from the influencing the people. Men are called to take decisive action against sin and injustice, not passively tolerate evil. We need to stand firm towards injustice. There are so many injustices that happen in the world, but the people of God are quiet. But he said, men need to stand firm towards injustice and evil, as Elijah did. We need to stand firm. I'm just summarizing because of time, because now it's almost enough. So we are just left with, I think, 3 minutes. Decisive action means stepping up with courage, not waiting, ignoring, or avoiding responsibility. It's the opposite of being silent, lazy, or indifferent when something wrong is happening. When you see something evil that is happening, but the people of God, they are quiet. Men are quiet. That's why these days, because men are quiet, women are taking into leadership. The responsibility which was given by God. It's a God-given responsibility. That men, they are the head of the house. But it's the opposite. Amidst all the evilness, men are quiet. Amen. Verse 42 to 44. Persistence in prayer. Elijah prayed 7 times for rain after the victory, waiting patiently and persistently. Lesson from men. A strong man doesn't give up in prayer or in action. He never gives up in prayer. If we've got children that are a problem in the house, as we have read of Job, that early morning he goes and kneel down, or in the morning and evening, that in case maybe my children have sinned against God. So they said, men need to be persistent in prayer. Persistent in prayer. A strong man keeps praying, keeps doing what is right, keeps believing, even when things are hard or slow to change. He doesn't quit, even when prayer seems unanswered. Or even when progress feels slow. Or even when he faces persistent feedback or resistance. A true man never gives up in prayer. Finally, from this message of 1 Kings chapter 18, teaches us that real men will involve spiritual courage, moral clarity, and deep faith. Elijah wasn't perfect, but he was bold, faithful, and fully committed to God's purpose. Instructing men from this chapter means calling them to be leaders of integrity. From this chapter is teaching us men that we ought to be men of integrity, men of prayer, and men who can be able to defend the truth. Warriors against idolatry. Men who does not waver, who does not. Today they are on this right hand side, tomorrow on the left. But men who can be able to stand. That's why we started from book of education, that the greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who can be able to stand for the truth. May God bless us.